All right. Hi, everybody. I'm so excited that everyone's here. So our presentation today is 10 ways to win with AI. And we're super excited to talk about this because these are some real AI wins that myself and my co-presenter here have deployed successfully in organizations such as yourself, small and medium business, that really help them save time, reduce mistakes, and really solve that vertical specific use cases and challenges. And I think that most of you are probably using AI to some degree today, but the real question that we want you to get out of this webinar is like, are you able to leverage AI in a meaningful way that solves your specific custom and vertical specific problems, right? Is it actually automating some of your customer workflows? And hopefully through this webinar, when we show you some of the wins that we were able to achieve with AI, you can also maybe get started and achieve those wins yourself. So Shashi, if you want to move to the next slide. So a little bit about us, like why are we speaking in front of you today? So my name is Monnia Deng. I come from over a decade of product management and go-to-market for IT and cybersecurity companies. I've led teams at Symantec, Duo Security, which is now part of Cisco. Most recently, I joined AI Squared to help lead their product function, which allows us to do cool things like create products that people love and use and solve real use cases. And so for me, I'm really excited to be here to talk about the ways that we've been able to translate some of the AI into meaningful impact for our customers. Shashi?
Hi, my name is Shashi Prakash. I am the vertical CTO here at AI Squared, managing the cybersecurity and mid-market verticals. And my background is I've been working at the intersection of machine learning and cybersecurity for over 16 years. And here at AI Squared, focus mostly on taking technological solutions and implementing it for our customers to provide real value in terms of AI automation and creating their workflows much faster and more cost efficient. But prior to this, I've been a startup founder. I've started a company called Bolster.ai. I took from concept to Series B with Microsoft's backing in the past, and worked at large and small companies like Cisco and other startups. So happy to chat today, and we have a few really exciting examples that we're going to walk through and show you how we are enabling our customers to use AI. And yeah, back to you, Monnia, to get going. Yeah.
Cool. So let's see what's on the agenda today. So the things that we're going to cover are the AI tools that your team probably, or you on this call are using. Most of them are assistant tools that you probably have heard of. But I think the meat of this conversation is going to be is what's new, right? Like, what can AI actually do to automate some of your custom and vertical specific workflows? But I do want to caveat that with the next point, which is, of course, we want to do that in a secure way. We'll talk a little bit about it later, but I want you to be able to implement these AI workflows without putting your data at risk, right? And so that's really critical, I would say, context for all of this. And then lastly, we'll get into the, the title of this webinar, which is the real 10 AI wins that we've been able to kind of help our customers achieve. Now, Shashi, if you move to the next slide. I won't spend too much time on this, but your team probably have heard of some of these before, if not already using them today, right? I think all of us have at some point interacted or used AI to maybe write emails faster or summarize meetings or maybe even clean up documents. For example, one of the first things that I did with ChatGPT was create marketing content to create blogs, right? And so all of these tools like ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, Google Gemini, they're everywhere. And currently businesses are using AI to help them write or summarize. But what we really believe that the real value that comes from AI is helping you do that custom workflow built on your secure data and doing it efficiently so that your team can spend their time doing other stuff, right? And becoming more productive as an organization. And so in my head, Shashi, if you go to the next slide, there are three major, I would say, milestones that we want to shift from. So right now, the tools that I showed you in the previous slide, right, the co-pilots and assistants, they are helping you do a task. But however, you're still doing the work, right? Like, let's say if you're using Zoom AI, you're still having that meeting and, you're still running it. You're still calling all the agenda points. And Zoom AI is just transcribing that meeting for you. Where we want to go from assistant is to automation, right? And what I mean by automation is it's rule-based systems. So, if A happens, then B. If X happens, then Y. It's still very much input output. And so you still have to go in there and, plug in exactly what you want from the automation rules. Now, where we want to go to in this, cool agentic world of AI is the agent, right? The delegation. So what you want to do is allow AI to plan steps and complete tasks for you that are specific to your custom use cases. And I do want to talk a little bit more in this presentation about having the right guardrails, because I'm sure you've seen on the news with a lot of, or even yourself, you're using some of these tools like, OpenClaw, where it can go off the rails and do some things like delete data or even perhaps expose you to certain, risks. And that's something that we always have to kind of, keep an eye out for as we implement these agentic workflows. But Sashi, if you go to the next slide. I think, we'll get into the guardrails, which I think is really important, but I think there's also another major problem that I'm sure you are experiencing. And I think that's the data problem, right? So oftentimes when we talk to small and medium businesses, they tell us that they're not sure what file formats their data is in. They don't know where the data is currently sitting in. So for example, you could have contracts that are in PDF and Word documents, and they could be stored across, your Google Drive or your SharePoint or any other, I would say data source that you're currently using. You could have invoices that are both, being stored in your email as well as in an accounting software. You could have, lots of different collaboration tools like, Microsoft Teams or your Outlook that are also storing different data sources and files. And so this goes on, and it becomes very hard if you are trying to really derive value out of your custom data. So if you want to say, what is our renewal risk, right? Or did we overpay our vendor? Oftentimes when we talk to small and medium businesses, it can take hours and hours for them to try to figure out like the answer to that question. And so I think AI is very powerful in solving the data problem. But Sashi, if you go to the next slide. I think the risk that comes with AI is something that we have to be very careful about, right? So when you allow AI to connect to your data sources, they now have, like employee contract, customer data, they have financials, and even like, possibly compliance related information. And so when you have employees are using these tools like ChatGPT or Claude, they're not using it maliciously, right? They're just trying to make sure that they do their work faster and they're able to be more productive. But without the right guardrails, I think it's really important that like otherwise you don't know, like what was shared, what was stored, can you even prove compliance when compliance comes around? And so that's really, in my opinion, problematic if you want AI to take action. If you don't want it to, go off the rails and delete information that's critical to your organization, or even worse, we've seen situations where it gets in the news where you could expose yourself to a data breach, right? And that could host a myriad of fines and potential consequences. So for us, we recognize that AI can do a lot of productive things, but we have to do it with safety and intention in mind. And so I have a quick governance checklist. Sashi, if you go to the next slide. Just a couple things that I think you should look for in when you implement these agentic workflows. And I think that is really being able to implement tools that have already gone through the right compliance and security checks, have the right architecture, right, in place. You want to also make sure you define data that and what it can be stored in and what can AI train on which data, right? You probably don't want AI to train on HR data, for example. You also want to restrict certain privileges based on, the user and the role that they have. For example, why would the finance department need to see, outputs from the, the marketing department? These are things that shouldn't have any kind of cross-contamination. And then lastly, I think the two things, in my opinion, should always be there is you should always have a human in the loop for critical workflows like, automated payments or system updates. Those things, I don't think we should ever be hands off when it comes to agentic workflows. So I always encourage those of you on the call, if you're implementing these agentic workflows, to always have a human in the loop for something more critical to your organization. And then lastly, logging, that's, from compliance and just to be able to do retrospectives and things like that. But we're not here to pitch our product, but I have to say, there's a lot of great tools on the market, ours included, AI Squared, that has kind of built that security and guardrails in place with what we've done. Because for us, we have a lot of government contracts and people with very, very serious, I would say compliance requirements. And for us, security and guardrails are just bred into everything that we do. But I'm not going to talk too much of that because I think that's something that we can chat about later. But I really want to talk about the wins, right? So Sashi, if you go to the next slide. So I'm going to briefly kind of, I would say, give an overview of the wins, because what Sashi is going to do is actually show you them in the real world, what we've been able to deploy for our customers. And, I think I would say bucket them into a couple of different categories. So if you see like 1 through 3, I would kind of bucket that in the AP automation category, right? And what we found for small and medium businesses is finance is one of the easiest ways to get ROI. With OCR and AI, you can now read contracts, you can extract payment terms, you can match invoices to contracts, you can flag anomalies like overbilling or duplicates. And I think that is one way that we've seen customers really win and get that ROI out of their agentic workflows, is because they are able to, instead of have a human there that is like going through these invoices and trying to find where all this things are stored, AI is able to, figure out if there's overpayments or if there are mistakes, anything that's happened in the AP automation workflow. The next category that we've seen a lot of businesses win in is what I call the security use cases, right? I'm sure all of you use email to some degree, and vendor fraud is something that we've seen just exponentially explode with AI, because it's so easy now to impersonate, a vendor, impersonate an individual. And so some of the workflows that we've done successfully with our customers is be able to use AI to detect if there's like a vendor impersonation, right? Flag suspicious payments or requests from an email, and also triage any kind of like phishing attempts. And you get a lot of these attempts that come from very weird domains, and they have this sense of urgency to them. All of that should be easily automated with AI. Sashi, I believe you stopped presenting.
Sorry, I did not change anything. Let me try again. Can you see now?
Yep, we're back. Thank you everyone for that minor issue, but we're back. Okay, so the 6 to 7, I would say, is more on the sales and marketing side, which is like, how do you as a small business generate more revenue? As you know, like every dollar counts when you're trying to grow your business. And so we get a lot of requests from small businesses who want to be able to find bids online, be able to find different contracts that they can submit proposals to. And when you have AI be able to look at previous proposals, your custom data, that proposal generation piece should be automated and should be intelligently done for you, right? And so being able to generate revenue for your business should be something that's easy, that's automated, and that's very smartly done. And that's something that you don't have to do and take your time trying to look for deals as well as respond to these bids online. Compliance is a really interesting one. We see that a lot more with like state and local government as well as education. But, compliance is an interesting space because AI can basically scan your website, scan documents. And so for our government and education customers, they want to make sure that they're not fined for example, ADA non-compliance. And so, making sure that, certain content and text and images are compliant is also a very interesting way that we've seen AI is able to not only catch those non-compliance issues, but also take action and correct them for you, so that you're not getting your web developer in there and being billed by the hour to be compliant with ADA. And then lastly, I would call this the BI Copilot wins that we've been seeing with our customers 9 and 10. And that's really like the ability to search across all of your data and ask really pertinent questions to your business. Like, for example, which contracts are going to expire next quarter, or which customers are behind on payments, and then what is our churn for this next quarter, or what are Q3 margins and why did they drop? All of that is really important predictive analytics that if you allow AI to securely connect to your data sources, it can be able to answer those questions for you. But don't take my word for it. I'm going to switch over to Sashi, who's going to talk a little bit more about these wins.
Yeah, thanks, Monnia. Before we go into some real-world deployments and some examples, I wanted to go over what does a typical onboarding workflow look like for our customers. When we talk to our customers, the most common question we get is what should they look for in an AI orchestration or enablement platform, right? So we summarize those in four quick steps, really simple steps. The first one is data source, right? We all start with data, and when you're looking for a platform to automate your workflows or use AI enablement in your environment, you want to look for solutions that provide as many connectors as possible, right? So we have over, for example, 90 plus connectors, close to 100 now. And they range from any data sources you can think of, from databases like Postgres, MySQL, or it could be data warehousing solutions like Databricks, Snowflake, or it could be file systems like S3 or even Google Drive, right? The more the number of connectors, the less work it is for on the technical side for you to integrate your data sources. And so it becomes much easier to almost like get instantly onboarded to the platform if you have these connectors available right off the bat. So that's step one. Step two is the LLM, or any machine learning model you want to connect. That's obviously important because it's the brain of the entire solution. And we can start with some basic popular ones like OpenAI, Anthropic, Google or Azure models, but we also want to give option for self-hosted large language models or machine learning models. So when you're looking for a solution, a self-hosted, having a range of different types of models from self-hosted to any off-the-shelf frontier models, that versatility is really important. We want to look for solutions that provide that as part of the platform. The third important piece is the application itself. If we are small businesses and we don't want, in most cases, we don't have time to actually build applications from ground up. Maybe we don't have engineers in-house who can do that. So we want to look for solutions which templatize the application process as well. The most common one, for example, is chat. Can we integrate a chat application with just like few clicks to talk with our custom data? And this custom data could be, like Monnia mentioned, from accounting department. It could be from your HR compliance. It could be very custom, CSV files, Excel spreadsheets. Can we build something which talks to this data and creates an application end to end with just a few clicks? So that's another thing. But that's just the beginning. If you also want to look for a solution which can go beyond that, which can customize, where you can customize charts, dashboards. It also, if you want to go even more advanced, can you enable AI workflows through agents, right? Agentic workflows. So this wide range of capabilities in the platform helps you, get going with the product easily and get started, and also be able to build a custom solution that's very specific to your organization. So really important to look for that in a product. And the last piece is just the table stakes for all enterprise applications. How do we deal with RBAC or permission issues, or can we integrate with SSO? Do we have encryption in transit or on storage, right? All of these things. There's a scale on demand. If you start from like one user, but you want to increase that to hundreds of users, does it scale seamlessly? Can we deploy this with one click on-prem or in cloud? All of these things should also be the basics that that is kind of expected in any orchestration platform. So we recommend our customers to look for that as well. So with that, once you have these things and you have a custom application, let's say we look at, out of the 10 cases that Monnia presented, I'll focus on 3 where we actually have these applications custom built for some of our customers, and these are real world deployments. The first one is the accounts receivable payable automation. This is what we're also calling contract intelligence. The purpose of this product is to automate this entire process of extraction, validation, and also flagging of any anomalies based on contracts. And these could include work orders, invoices, receipts. So if you can imagine in a typical organization, parsing through these manually, going through each vendor, getting the dollar value out of these, making sure we meet the contract terms, the payment timelines, all of this is a fairly manual and tedious process. But there is automation today available which can take care of the entire workflow end to end. and make it really easy for customers to actually get going within minutes, which would sometimes in previous cases sometimes could take days to go through a list of documents. So three key things that we will focus on. One is the parsing and understanding of documents. Second is the business logic itself. Can we look at the vendors and combine everything from contract to payment to invoices to any pending payments, all of that in one logic. And third is alerting. Can the system alert me whenever there is something that needs my attention as an accounting person? Whether it could be a payment that I need to make as soon as possible, or it could be related to some anomaly in payment. It could be security related alert as well. So can the system do it for me? So let me actually show you what that looks like in a real world deployment. This is the UI for this is the product which we are calling Contract IQ. And let's start with the contract. A sample contract could be uploaded either through my file system, or it could be through an API. If you want to process, in a typical organization, if you have hundreds of these every day, you obviously don't want to do it manually. So there's a way to integrate this through API as well. But once I upload this PDF, it automatically parses and gives you the details of the document, along with some key artifacts. Like one is the vendor name, the dollar value of the contract, what is the start date, end date, what are the payment terms. So all of this is automatically parsed, extracted, and the person does not have to go and check this manually. In certain cases where the extraction piece, where the system is not very confident, it will also give you a percentage of what is the extraction confidence, and if it requires manual review, for example, in this case, we can go and check manually just to make sure everything is okay. Once this is parsed and extracted, the next step is business logic, which will take this vendor, for example, in this case, and combine that information with other critical pieces. For example, if the payment has been made, if there is, for example, a duplicate invoice, maybe got billed by the same vendor twice, right? How do we investigate all of these things? And these are just some sample alerts. There are dozens of these types of alerts. Some of them could be cybersecurity related. For example, the last one is a change in banking detail, which is the most common vendor fraud type of scam we see through emails. So if there's a last minute change in banking details, you may want to verify this through other means, either through a phone call or reach out to the other vendor directly through other means. So flagging these things are really important and removes the tedious process of verification and security also away from the end users, and the system takes care of all of these for you. So as you can imagine, in a typical workflow, when you have to deal with hundreds of these, maybe thousands in a month, a system like this is invaluable to reduce all the manual steps that you would do to perform these actions. And then these alerts can also go either via email, through your Slack or instant messaging, and alert the right person at the right time. And lastly, the dashboard gives you just like a high-level overview of the state of just the accounting state today. Like what are the number of contracts we have, total dollar value, any alerts, just like a bird's eye overview of everything that's going on with the system. So this is, again, a real-world deployment for a customer to automate the entire account receivable, payable automation. The next use case I wanted to talk about is procurement intelligence. So many of us are in the business of bidding against contracts or requests for proposals that we usually monitor. Typically, we've seen our customers bid for these with government contracts. Sometimes these are private companies as well. And the process typically entails going through these bids, understanding documents, which could be sometimes hundreds of pages long, and understanding what really fits for my business. Like, is this even a relevant request for proposal for my business? And my business it could be anything, right? And you want to, out of all these documents, rank the ones which are relevant for my business. That's step one. And step two is I want to maybe deep dive a little bit and understand the nuances of this RFP, and maybe understand ask very domain specific questions to the document. And can the system do it for me? And the third piece is, if it's a good fit and it scores high, then I do want to generate a proposal to send it out, and it should have all the key features that I'm proposing I will deliver as a business against this RFP. So can the system understand those nuances and generate very fine-tuned document or proposal for the person you're bidding for, right? So all of these processes again are fairly manual today. Someone has to go through these sites, find these RFPs that are coming out. In many cases, I've seen people doing that on a daily basis, just like going through these. So can we automate that process, right? So that's where the second solution comes in. This is the request for proposal assistant. We start with a proposal. In this case, you'd simply upload a document here, or again, with an API, this could be an API-based system. And then once it's uploaded, the system scores it against my business's specialty, right? So if I am, let's say, in the business of generating AI solutions or building AI solutions for my customers, these are the highlights of my business. These are my specializations. And I want to have certain factors for the score that I care about, right? So these are the factors I want to add to the score. And so the AI will take all of these criteria, combine that with the content of the RFP itself, and generate a score. In this case, the score is 60, and it gives you why it scored it that way, the key criteria it used. So in this case, you can see it's related to AI. It's related to like AI enablement for this organization. So it's relevant to us. Now, I want to maybe go into this document and do a little bit of deep dive. Like I want to understand from my perspective, what are the key qualifications for this bidder? So I can ask that question, and it will parse the document and give me the answer to that, like a very specific fine-tuned answer as to why this is, what are the key criteria. And you can also look at the sections it's highlighting to go and review the document, which, by the way, you can go to the PDF and see the document as well. And then the last piece is the proposal generation, which I mentioned needs to be also very fine-tuned based on my business. What am I generating proposal for? And for that, I seed it with some information like about the company, qualifications. Maybe I've done some past relevant projects in the same area, which I want to highlight in the proposal. And also any additional notes. If I want to add pricing that I'm proposing, I can do that as well. And then I click on generate proposal, right? So the machine learning model is now taking all of this content that I provided along with the criteria from the document, and in a few seconds it will have the proposal with the relevant content in there. Let's give it 1 second while this is generating. So you can see it has a sample logo, date, and the template itself. Either we could define our own template, or we can ask the AI model to generate it for us. And it has all the content relevant for this proposal: a background story, differentiator, any projects you've done, some leadership information, and all of that. And then you can either edit this proposal or send it by email. So our customers use this primarily to deal with the volume of proposals they deal with on a daily basis, and it makes their life so much easier by doing all of this automatically. And the ones which are relevant, highly scored, they can send out email directly and send the proposal out. So that was the second use case. The third one is the business intelligence copilot, which is essentially a real-time way to talk to your data, right? And this could be any custom enterprise data that you care about. In my deployment today, I'll show quick data from QuickBooks, which is another product where one of our customers will, they track all the invoices and receipts and get financial data, sales data from there. But you can imagine it could be any of the solutions that you may have. Internally, it doesn't have to be finance. It could be any other data source that you want to integrate. Some of our customers are using it for FP&A, for example. Some of them are using it for just technical documentation analysis, talking to technical documents, understanding code. So it has a wide range of application. But the key thing here is this is a real-time way to interact with your custom data, ask questions in a natural language way, and the system understands the nuances of the data. It can get as technical or as domain specific as you want, and it will give you a result which is real time. It's happening right now, so it's not stale, and so you can take actions based on that data quickly. So it increases the speed of business for our customers, and it also gives a deeper insight without being stuck with with static dashboards. So you can customize your own queries, solutions. You can customize your dashboards and create your own solution, which is very specific to that user. So that's the third application I wanted to show you. So like I mentioned, this is QuickBooks data, which has in the database details of invoices, payments. So I want to see maybe the 10 largest invoices that I got, and it pulls the data. It gives you the explanation. So there's a traceability component to this as well. You can actually see the SQL query it ran, and it gives you. So it converted natural language query to the SQL query and gave you the top 10 invoices. I want to see maybe what's the total revenue. So I can click on that, and it will generate a value for that based on the query. But this doesn't always have to be just tables. We can also introduce charts and widgets, for example, to see trend line of sales and gather very deep insight into the sales numbers that we're seeing, right? I also want to see maybe what are the best-selling SKUs by quantity. It can generate that information as well by total quantity and the total revenue. So if you see the speed at which it's giving you insights into your specific data, it can really help make decisions faster. So you can, for example, in this case, if there are lower sales for certain SKUs, maybe you want to dig deeper into why that's happening. If it's unexpected, if the sales have dropped, what do we need to do there? You can also combine this with other third-party data. For example, there are reviews of these products on Amazon or some of these other platforms. We can combine that and give you deeper insight as to why this product is doing bad based on customer reviews. So there's all kinds of possibilities with a solution like this. And this is just one type of data. I want to emphasize this can be plugged into any custom data source that you want and get real-time insights based on that. So those are the three main use cases I wanted to talk about. And with that, I would love to open this up for Q&A. We are also present next week at the Small Business Expo in Orlando. We are at the expo floor, so we would love to talk to you in case you have very custom AI enablement requirement. We can help you create the solution for that and launch it in your organization the way you want, with all the compliance and security related nuances. We take care of that. So we'd love to chat with you more about that. But for now, happy to take any questions on this. Monnia?
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Thank you, Shashi, for giving those demos. It looks like there are actually quite a bit of questions coming in while you were talking. So I'll start from the top. Actually, so Kurt asked, this is just a fun one to start with, and then we'll get into the more technical questions. Do you know Kevin Mitnick?
Yes, I do know. I met him actually. Sadly, he passed away a couple of years ago, I think. But yeah, I go to DEF CON, and I met him at one of the DEF CON conferences in Vegas like 5 years ago.
And so we have Andy asked quite a few more technical questions that I will kind of go one by one, Shashi. So the first one he asked is, what is your AI squared process for integrating data collection into a cohesive system?
Yeah, so we have a 4-week process. It's a really well-defined process where in week 1, we kind of work on discovery, understand your system, your business problem that you're actually trying to solve, what are the data pieces that we need for that. And the second is we work with your team to understand how we would want to deploy this in your environment. So it gets a little bit on the technical side of things. We do a deep dive on that and we make sure we're all on the same page with how we're going to do this. And then we work on an actual prototype or a POC to show you what this would look like to get your first early feedback so we can iterate on this quickly. And then if it's all good, then yeah, we deploy it in production and we take care of all the technical nuances. If you want to be as hands-on as you want, you can be involved, or we can deploy it for you and we manage the resources on that as well. So it could be a wide range of deployment solutions depending on how you want to proceed with the deployment and enablement. Yeah.
Mm. So his next question is, how do you ensure and maintain the data quality and integrity?
So data quality is a really important question. I think it starts with once you've connected the data, we work with both structured and unstructured data sources. And I think it's really important for the system to handle both types of data. And unstructured, as you can imagine, it could be in any format, right? So there's another step for data normalization after we ingest everything. So that data normalization piece, we have a team of data scientists who build models and who are constantly on top of like updating and fine tuning our system to normalize the data. And once that is normalized, then we can do all kinds of things with large language models and agentic workflows. But we take pride in like that piece of taking data and making sure we are correcting or normalizing in the right way, because it's every use case is so different that having one central system to do that cohesively for everyone, that's a pretty interesting and technically challenging problem. Yeah.
I think his third and fourth question could probably be answered in one, in my opinion. So the questions are, how are your AI solutions integrating with client business processes? And what is the estimated timeline for prototype to production?
So the integration with the client business processes is essentially there is an initial, after the initial discovery and product requirements. Once we've gathered that, there is a phase where we work with our customers to do both the manual and the automation parallelly, as in like they will give us their subject matter expertise as to how they're doing it today, but they continue to do that the way they do today. But parallelly, we also deploy the solution which handles some of the manual steps that they're doing. And so they get to almost like examine this more critically, the AI solution, and see if it is doing the way things they want it to be done, right? So that is I would say like a 1 to 2 week process of like understanding and maybe fine tuning that a little bit. And then once that is done, then they switch over to the automation. Once they're comfortable with everything and it's doing the job they want it to do, then they switch over to the automation process. And hopefully then after that, they can save a lot of time, which now the system is able to do that for them. In many cases, we've seen from several days to like within minutes, our customers are able to perform the same task and also save resources as well. The typical timeline, like I was saying, it's a 4-week process. But in some cases, when the data connectors and the chat application or the application they require, if they're pretty standard connectors and applications, then we can get started within a week and deploy a POC. But sometimes it may take longer if it's very custom integration. But even then, we have a vast library of like connectors and data applications, which we can in most cases plug and play within a couple of weeks. And then from POC to production, that's just that's not a lot of heavy lift, because once we've deployed the POC and customers are comfortable, then we just enable the right data sources in case they want to add more data sources to that. But that typically involves just a week, maybe less than a week worth of work. Yeah.
Great. So I think Sarah asked 2 questions, and Sarah, actually, I can answer your question. She asked, what are the links to the AI tools shown? So these links are actually custom deployments that we've created for our clients, and the data is anonymized. So we show them as an example of what you could achieve. Obviously, we want to make sure that whatever front end application we deliver to you is, has your logo and has your branding and your access control on top of it. But these are just examples, and I think one of our our AI specialists will probably reach out to you afterwards if you wanted to get a little bit more detail on some of the stuff that we've been able to do. And then the second question is, what is the name of the RFP proposal assistant. So again, that is just kind of anonymized data. We just call it the what do we call again, the proposal
Assistant, yeah.
that was just something that our client wanted. Of course, you can name your application any way you want, but the backend business logic and the LLMs and everything that's able to do to create those custom proposals and send them off and find bids, those are all something that we can absolutely work with you to get implemented in your environment. So I think the next question, Shashi, I think this is for you. So Luke asks, are there AI-based systems available to provide cybersecurity?
Yes. So depending on what your need for cybersecurity, so there are two parts to it. One is the platform cybersecurity ready? Like we've designed our product in a way where, yes, all the controls you need to have basic cybersecurity with authentication, multi-factor authentication, single sign-on, encryption, like all of these things are baked into the product. So if you're asking about the cybersecurity aspect of the product, that's already there. But if you're looking to solve cybersecurity problems with AI, which could be very specific, then the product can be used to enable or create those solutions for you as well. So would love to chat with you actually, maybe after this, and understand what the use case is. But we can help with both. Like we can actually, take care of enablement for any business workflow with cybersecurity in mind. Make sure all the data that you use the platform for is secure and accessible only to the required people. But we can also help you solve any cybersecurity related problems as well with this solution. Yeah.
Yeah. So the next one, I think both of us should chime in, Shashi. So Felix asks, as a restaurant owner, I'm pretty new to understanding AI. It's okay, all of us are. How can I, as a restaurant owner, use your AI solution to run several of my restaurants and benefit from it? So in my opinion, I'm going to kind of list a couple use cases, and Shashi, maybe if you want to, list a couple of your use cases. But what we've been seeing, especially with, we can't name the names because they're private, but with these food supply chains and inventory management, a lot of like what Shashi showed with the BI Copilot tool, you're able to understand, is there going to be like a delay in supply, right? Like how do you correctly figure out how much inventory do you want to, purchase for, depending on your current, your current trends. And I think another thing that we also see quite often is the ability to in your position, like based on how much the supplies cost and the inventory cost, how do you price this, right? And how do you price it in a way that is going to give you the best profit margins? I think that can be quite a difficult thing for a lot of, people who do these kind of, I would say like logistics, inventory and all that. And I think also just projections. So for example, based on what you've seen right now, like how much can you expect if you were to, let's say, add a certain item to your menu? What would the projections for the revenue might be for next quarter or next week or next month? All that is something that, based on your historical data, we've been able to do in terms of that linear correlation. So that's kind of just 3 use cases I thought based on what we've seen with our current clients. Shashi, you've probably talked to more customers. Maybe you can do more.
I think one of the things we showed today regarding contract management that might be relevant. It's more of like maybe back office or in-house, like not directly related to your customers, but in-house operations and management of operations. A lot of that can be a pretty tedious and time-taking process. So to Monnia's point, like managing these contracts, invoices, and vendors automatically through a system would help you reduce so much manual work that you can focus that time on other things for your restaurant and let the system handle this, like the finance and accounting piece. So that's one use case. The second could be just generating more business, like as in how do you predict, like based on all these time sensitive information, like there is a certain sensitivity to restaurants, like time of the day or time of the year when the business goes up or down, right? How do you take the data from the past based on how many people came to your restaurant, taking all of that historical data and being able to predict, like how can we project the foot traffic in maybe next month or next week, what time of the day, like what type of food or what type of cuisines are are more popular versus others. Like having these analytics data on top of on the data that you have would be really helpful in increasing the business, right? So for that, I think there's an AI enablement piece where if you don't have these databases or systems, creating those from scratch, making sure we're capturing all the information. I'm sure billing systems already have a lot of data, so that can be automatically ingested. But taking all of that and creating a solution custom to your restaurant or chain of restaurants, uh, that is something that I think would be useful for you. Yeah.
All right. So it looks like we're running out of time. Layla, I guess I'll turn it back to you. Thank you, Sashi.
Thanks, Monnia.